it's not an old team, John, but like, there is lads with a lot of miles on the clock and a lot of big games. Like, does that take a lot of minding and managing?
Yeah, but like, they're not made of metal or steel, as I've said, recently. They don't rust, they don't corrode. The body, thankfully, is designed to renew, to heal, to get stronger, and it's what you do with it rather than what it'll do to you. So I think the lads have worked really, really hard, and plus they've had fantastic care over the last 10 years, 12 years in their S&C programs, in their medical programs, in any medical. We've always done right by the lads medically. If they weren't fit, they didn't play, and we've always treated them extremely well that way. And I think that will that's been borne out now. They're strong, they're really, really strong, and I think the support that's there for the players now, I think it means that they can go on for many, many more years than what they would have done 20 years ago even, and I think you can see that in the professional game of rugby, where players are, peaking in their early 30s, and Peter O'Mahony is a perfect example of it. Lads who can really, really stretch the envelope in terms of the duration of their careers. So I think it's really, really important that we, acknowledge that envelope for players to enjoy is there, and that we don't, almost preempt an earlier than necessary stepping away from the game. I think we need to make sure that the boys can enjoy the time playing the game that they love. I think that's the most important part of it, and acknowledging that along the way there are going to be dips in their form, there's going to be dips in terms of their physical readiness, and that we have to try and just support them through that piece the best we can. But definitely there's much longer careers than ours. Look at Patrick Horgan, he's a perfect example of it, absolutely perfect example of it. And it's great to see. It's great to see.
Do you think you have lads there that can go on as long as him and TJ Reid? It sounds like you definitely do.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely, yeah. 100%. Why not? Maybe longer. Yeah, right. Yeah. I think that's all doable. Yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks, Ed. Morning, John. I've only one question. Given last year's huge disappointment at not making the five in a row, has there this year been anything positive out of that from your point of view, setting the disappointment aside?
Yeah, setting this disappointment aside, which was a huge disappointment, obviously, but listen, the narrative has changed, Sean. The first words out of everybody's mouth that you meet when you go to the shop or go to the post office or go to mass, it was almost the first line at mass. We'll pray for the 5 in a row, and we'll move on then to the more important matters of life and death. So it's definitely no harm that it's finished with, Sean. It would have been lovely to do it, of course it would, but such is sport, and we move on to the next challenge, and we don't look back very much at all, and we're constantly looking forward, as is the nature of this competition, to the next game, and we've really enjoyed our season, to be fair, so far. We've had a few ups and downs. We struggled in times during the spring. We've had a defeat last Sunday. They're disappointing moments, they're hurtful moments, but you have to embrace the hurt, you have to embrace the disappointment, and you have to try and make yourself better. And definitely 2024 is most certainly in the rearview mirror. We won a fantastic Munster title there in Thurles in 2024, which we are very, very proud of, and which meant a lot to us at the time. But listen, at the minute our focus is very, very firmly on Saturday week.
And do you think it's added something to the edge of the players?
I don't know. It's hard to measure that type of a thing. It's hard to we don't discuss it, so it's hard to know. What I do know is that they're in a good place. They've worked hard throughout the winter. As I said, we've rode the waves of the campaign so far, and they're very resilient. They take the hits, they take the disappointments, they get up, they dust themselves down and go again. And they've great faith in each other, and they're enjoying the hurling. I think that's the most important thing. They're enjoying their time together, they're enjoying the hurling. And whilst that's there, I think the impacts of the past are left there.
Hi John, how are you? I suppose like you were just talking about there, responding to the hurt and embracing the hurt. Like Pat Ryan, we were talking to him the other night, and he said it was noticeable after the semi-final last year how dignified Limerick were in defeat. But like, it's probably not an easy thing to do, but did you have to kind of be like that in order to bounce back? Like you said, that if it was just dwelling on going so close to the 5 in a row, kind of it would have been a lot more difficult to come back and start again this year. Like,
I suppose every year you know brings its own challenges, and you don't know any season going into it how it's going to pan out. You don't know what the energy levels are going to be like. You don't know what the motivations are going to be like. There's no doubt that for us, a big piece of this season has been about change. You know, we've had a lot of players come into the group. We've had a lot of people in our backroom team have come into the group, and they've added huge energy, huge drive, and freshness into the group, and we needed that. So we've embraced the change, we've embraced the energy, we've had our challenges, we keep responding, and as I said to you, losing a sport is an intricate part of it. You have to be able to lose as well as to win, and in order to win you need to probably be able to lose. So it's our response to anything that happens to us defines us, I think, and yeah. I think so far I can only acknowledge the response the players have given, and hope that we can support them in carrying that forward. That's all. But for us, Saturday week now, there isn't a day beyond the 7th of June really in our calendar year, and our focus is most certainly on trying to be the best that we can be, because we know if you're that bit off, it hurts terribly.
And did you feel that maybe outside the camp, people were almost writing off Limerick, like, even though like you only lost the other semi-final by 2 points, if that game had been 5 minutes longer, you might have actually won it, given how strongly you finished. Like, everyone seems to be just focusing on the result rather than how close it had been. Like, and the talk was of the end of an era, but there was no real logic to back that up.
Yeah, and maybe that narrative is out there, or was out there, and I think that narrative has been debunked now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it.
And just finally from me, and I know you don't want to give away any trade secrets or anything like that, but was there anything in Cork last year that you saw was a clear improvement, on the years before that, where they weren't able to beat you in the championship?
Last year?
Yeah.
Like every team, as I said, every team is looking to improve and get better at the various aspects of the game. And, Cork have huge skill sets, and different maybe to ours, and that's actually a good thing, that, teams have different attributes that make them what they are. But there's no doubt that there's very little between the two groups, and on any given day, it comes down to the smallest of margins, really, the smallest of margins. So they're a very competitive group. Donald Mahoney's a good friend of mine. He's in the coaching ticket there. We have huge regard for each other. We embrace the challenge. We embrace the competition. We embrace the rivalry that's there, and I think all of these occasions are special in their own right. And I think they obviously are bringing through new players as well into their group, just like ourselves and all the other groups, and they have fantastic young talent coming through into their group. So all that young talent adds to the competition for places, adds to the drive that's within the group. But everybody's working so hard.